Hey, I'm Paul Chang. That little green plastic box you've seen advertised everywhere, the one that plugs under your dash and promises to instantly cut your gas bill by 40%, is literally just a blinking LED light wired to a timer. Millions of drivers are buying these things right now because gas prices are punishing, and the idea of outsmarting the oil companies for $2 is intoxicating. I actually cracked one open on my workbench yesterday. There's no memory chip inside capable of rewriting your engine's fuel map. It is empty space, a piece of plastic, and some incredibly cheap solder. The whole thing is a ghost. But here is the part that actually bothers me. The companies selling these fake chips are banking on a very real statistic. You actually are wasting up to 40% of your fuel economy every single week. It's just not happening inside your engine computer. The real thief is quietly draining your tank while you commute, and the fix doesn't require ordering cheap overseas junk. I will show you exactly where that lost gas is going, but first, you really need to understand how they get away with this lie. If you walk through any auto parts convention, or honestly just scroll through your phone for 5 minutes, you'll see a dozen variations of the same promise. The magic bullet for fuel economy. I remember the first time I saw one of these plug-in chips. A customer brought a 2012 Civic into the bay complaining about a weird electrical gremlin. The dashboard was lit up like a Christmas tree. I plug in my scanner, and sitting right there in the diagnostic port is this bright green piece of plastic. The guy told me he bought it to save gas. I ended up pulling it out, and the electrical issue vanished immediately. That is the thing about modern cars. They are rolling computer networks. Every sensor, every valve, every fuel injector is talking to the engine control unit constantly. Automakers spend billions of dollars fighting to squeeze 1 or 2 extra miles per gallon out of these engines just to dodge federal emissions fines. If a 50-cent microchip could safely lean out the fuel mixture and get you 40% better mileage, every major manufacturer would be installing them at the factory. They wouldn't leave that kind of efficiency sitting on a shelf.
But the marketing is brilliant. They tell you the manufacturer is hiding the true potential of your engine to keep oil companies happy. It sounds plausible if you don't know what it looks like inside that little box. When I cracked mine open, I found a generic microprocessor, a PIC16F59 if you want the exact part number. I looked up the specs. It has 3 kilobytes of memory. 3! You couldn't store a low-resolution photo on this thing, let alone a complex, multi-dimensional fuel map table for a combustion engine. It just draws power from the port, blinks a light to make you feel good, and does absolutely nothing else. Actually, hold on. I need to back up. When I said it does nothing, that is not quite right for all of these devices. Some of the older scams, the ones you wire directly under the hood, actually do something. And it is much worse than doing nothing. There is a trick that has been floating around car forums for years, the 10-cent resistor trick. People take a cheap electrical resistor and jam it into the wiring harness for the intake air temperature sensor. The idea is to trick the engine computer into thinking the air coming through the grill is freezing cold. Cold air is dense, so the computer dumps more fuel into the cylinders to match it, or leans it out depending on the resistance. I have pulled these resistors out of melted wiring harnesses more times than I can count. Tricking your sensors does not give you hyper mileage. It forces your engine to run artificially rich or lean. Best case scenario, you foul your spark plugs. Worst case, you dump unburnt raw fuel straight into your exhaust system and melt your catalytic converter into a solid block of useless metal. At today's parts prices, that mistake costs about the same as a used Honda Civic. I am not exaggerating. A new exhaust setup can run you $2,000 easily. And it gets worse from here. If you drive anything with an engine, you're going to want to subscribe and stick around.
This is the part that actually bothers me. The government knows these things are garbage. The Environmental Protection Agency has a whole testing division for aftermarket retrofit devices. They tested over 100 different fuel-saving gadgets over the years. Magnets, air bleeders, plug-in chips. 97 of them had zero measurable effect. Zero. A couple of them managed a tiny fraction of a percent improvement, well within the margin of error for a slight breeze on the test track. So if the gadgets are fake and the resistor tricks destroy your exhaust, How are we supposed to claw back that lost gas money? Because the pain at the pump is real. You look at your dashboard gauge, and you know you used to get 28 miles to the gallon, and now you're barely hitting 22. That missing 6 miles per gallon did not just evaporate. It's being stolen by neglect. Picture the inside of your intake tract. There's a tiny, delicate wire sitting right in the stream of air entering your engine. That's your mass airflow sensor. Over 40, 50, 60,000 miles, that wire gets coated in microscopic layers of dust, oil vapor, and road grime. It gets insulated by this crust. When that happens, it can't measure the air volume accurately anymore. It sends sluggish, delayed signals to the computer. The computer panics and defaults to a slightly richer fuel mixture just to keep the engine from stalling. You never see a warning light. You just quietly lose 5 to 8% of your fuel efficiency every single time you fill the tank. Now, I need to flag something. I'm showing you what I would do on my own car in my own garage with 15 years of experience. If you're not comfortable opening your hood and unclipping a sensor, there's zero shame in handing this to a trusted mechanic. This video is here to help you understand what's actually happening. But if you are comfortable, a $5 can of specialized sensor cleaner spray and 10 minutes in your driveway can strip that crust off the wire. The idle smooths out immediately, the computer gets crisp data again, and suddenly your factory gas mileage starts coming back.
So far, we have talked about a few $100s a year lost to a dirty sensor, but we have not even gotten to the biggest drain yet. The one that accounts for over 30% of your fuel bill. The one you are probably doing right now without even realizing it. And honestly, when I saw the actual test data on this, I had to read it twice. I used to take cars out for test drives after a major repair just to verify everything was running right under load. And you learn a lot about a vehicle by how hard it has to work just to get from 0 to 40 miles an hour. Most people treat the gas pedal like a light switch. It's either completely on or it's off. Picture the fuel injector sitting right above your intake valves. When you push your foot down hard to jump off a red light, those injectors don't just spray a fine mist of fuel. The engine computer detected a sudden massive rush of air past the throttle body, panics, and enters what we call open loop mode. It temporarily stops listening to the oxygen sensors and just dumps raw liquid gasoline into the cylinders to make sure the engine doesn't run too hot and melt a piston. The engine physically cannot burn all of that fuel efficiently. You're taking expensive premium gas and tossing it straight out the tailpipe as exhaust. The testing team over at Edmunds actually set up a real-world experiment on this exact behavior. They took standard commuter cars and ran them through aggressive driving cycles, hard acceleration, heavy braking, lane weaving. Then they drove the exact same route with smooth, gradual inputs. I expected maybe a 10% difference. The actual data showed an average fuel savings of 31%, and in some specific vehicles, it hit 37%, just from slowing down the 0 to 60 time by a few seconds. Actually, wait, let me clarify that because it sounds like I'm telling you to drive dangerously slow. I'm not. This is about transmission shift points. If you ease into the throttle, the car shifts up to the next gear smoothly. The RPMs drop, and the fuel injectors instantly pull back. You get to the speed limit at almost the exact same time, but you do it without triggering that open-loop fuel.
I have ridden in the passenger seat with hundreds of customers while diagnosing suspension clunks. The number of people who race up to a red light only to slam on the brakes, it is incredibly frustrating to watch. Every time you hit the brakes hard, you are taking all that kinetic momentum you just paid for with gasoline and turning it into completely useless heat on your brake rotors. There's another quiet thief happening right in your driveway too. A lot of folks still believe the old myth that it takes more gas to start your car than it does to let it idle. That might have been true in 1974 when we were dealing with massive carbureted engines in the dead of winter. It is completely false today. Modern electronic fuel injection uses barely a thimble of gas to restart a warm engine. But if you sit in the drive-through lane or outside a school pickup line with the engine running for more than 60 seconds, you are getting 0 miles per gallon. Engine testing data shows excessive idling can waste up to 19% of your fuel over a typical commuting week. Now, I should flag this. These specific percentages are based on standard gas engines. If you're driving a hybrid, regenerative braking changes the math entirely. But for a traditional engine, the numbers are absolutely brutal. So let's tally this up. You have an 8% loss from a crusted over mass airflow sensor, sending sluggish data. You have a 31% loss from aggressive pedal habits. We are already at 39% of your fuel just vanishing into thin air. And we haven't even talked about the physical connection between your car and the earth. Go out to your garage tomorrow morning and look at where your tires meet the pavement. If they are even slightly underinflated, the sidewalls bulge outward. That creates rolling resistance. It's exactly like trying to ride a bicycle with flat tires. Your engine has to work significantly harder to overcome the friction of the rubber dragging on the asphalt. The EPA's own testing confirms that underinflated tires scrub off another 1 to 3% of your fuel economy.
This is the payoff right here. 8% from the sensor, 31% from the pedal, 2% from the tires. That is your 40%. That is the massive fuel savings the scammers are promising you in that cheap plastic box. The savings exist. The 40% number is completely real, verified by engineering data. It just doesn't come from a magic microchip. It comes from undoing years of invisible neglect. But knowing these numbers is only half the battle, because there is a reason you were driven to look for a quick fix in the first place. The automotive industry has spent the last 2 decades quietly engineering a situation that makes you feel completely helpless when you open your own hood. And the way they accomplished that is honestly brilliant. They didn't weld the hood shut, they just designed it to look like a sealed appliance. Pop the hood on a truck from the late 90s. You immediately see the spark plug wires, the throttle body linkage, the alternator. You can physically see how the machine works. Now, pop the hood on a modern crossover. You are greeted with a massive, featureless shield of black plastic. Some manufacturers have even deleted the physical oil dipstick entirely, forcing you to rely on a digital dashboard menu just to check your fluid level. It is a very deliberate psychological design. They want you to lift the hood, feel overwhelmed, shut it, and drive straight to a major dealership network. Because when you feel helpless, you pay whatever the service advisor types into their computer. Let's say you walk into the service drive complaining that your car feels sluggish and the gas mileage has tanked. You can hear the keys clacking as they write up the ticket. A good technician knows it is probably just a crusted airflow sensor and maybe an oxygen sensor starting to get lazy, but a service advisor with a monthly revenue quota, they are going to sell you a comprehensive fuel system flush, a chemical induction service, and a set of iridium spark plugs for $700. Actually, I need to be fair here. The technicians turning wrenches in the back usually know exactly what's going on. I was one of them. We knew the system was bloated, but we didn't write the repair orders. Multiply that $700 unnecessary service by the 50 cars rolling through just one service drive every single day. Multiply that by thousands of locations across the country. We are talking about billions of dollars extracted from everyday drivers. And it's all built on the assumption that you don't know how to clean a tiny wire, check your tire pressure, and ease off the throttle. It is a massive, invisible tax on a lack of confidence. But you don't have to pay it anymore. You do not need a scammy plastic box from the internet. You just need a $10 tire pressure gauge, a $5 can of spray, and a little bit of patience at the next red light. You have the actual data now. If you found this valuable and you want to know what else the service manuals aren't telling you, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to keep opening these up. Because getting your gas mileage back is easy once you understand the math. But stopping your transmission from literally grinding its own internal components into a metallic soup, that requires a specific maintenance step the manufacturer explicitly tells you never to perform. And the repair bills on that one, they're going to make a lot of people angry.